Hi, Billy Joe, can you hear us?
Married, I got married in 81, aren't we all? Okay.
Billy Joe, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. All right, just want to make sure. We start here in just a moment, okay?
Thank you.
Bob, can you hear us now?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Perfect.
You're
Meeting was
on,
called to order at 6:33.
and I'm giving it to you, Bob, to speak of our closed session.
Oh, yes. In closed session, the board conferred with each other regarding a personnel matter pursuant to, oh, Colby, I can't, there you go. Thank you. Government Code Section 54957. It was regarding the general manager's performance review. The board spoke with each other and the general manager. No official action was taken. That concludes the announcement.
Thank you, Bob.
Uh-huh.
We will go forward with our pledge of allegiance. Mr. Cody, please stand. Lead us, please.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Yes. Edgar Castellano. Jose Luis Godinez.
Present.
Rebecca Redorte Burns.
Present.
Kim Gerald Johnson.
Here.
Ross Leisha.
Here.
Thank you.
Are there any announcements of,
None this evening,
Presentations.
or presentations.
Madam Secretary, any public comments?
Yes, I have not received any. No, not tonight.
Okay. Would anyone like to remove or add to the consent calendar? Having no one spoken, may I have a motion to
I make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, this will be a roll call. We do have an ordinance on there, as well as a resolution. So Edgar Castellano,
Yes.
Jose Luis Godinez,
Yes.
Kim Gerald Johnson,
Aye.
Rebecca Redorte Burns,
Yes.
Ross Leisha.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
So if I may ask Mr. Dubit to move on our board actions.
Yes, out of 6.1, this is a request from the American Cancer Society to host a beer garden at Granola Family Park. I would like to note that we do have a representative, Billy Joe from the American Cancer Society on the line. I think she's actually stepped out of another meeting they had with their volunteers tonight, but she would be available should you have any questions for them as well. As you're all aware, the American Cancer Society annually puts on an event called the Relay for Life. 2 years ago when the pandemic hit, it shut them down like it shut down the rest of us as well. Historically, their event prior to the pandemic was a 24-hour event designed to simulate a day in the life of a cancer patient. And you were walking on the track for 24 hours. Many years ago, I was very involved in that when my mom was suffering from cancer. American Cancer Society is close to my heart because of that. They have approached the district about using Granola Family Park September 24th for their event. They revamped their event because of the pandemic. It's a much shorter event now. It's only from late afternoon until about 9 o'clock. They still do their Luminaria ceremony, which they're very famous for. It's a very touching event. But one of the changes they've made is they're requesting to have a beer garden. It's essentially a fundraiser for the event here. There used to be essentially a Relay for Life in every community. That is no longer the case anymore. They suffered greatly financially because of the pandemic, and now they're doing larger regional ones. And so this is kind of the northwestern portion of Riverside County that this relay will be covering. With that, they have a brewery and tap room called the Craft Lounge that has agreed to provide its services to essentially run the beer garden for them. Should the board approve this, they'll still have to go through, get an ABC permit for the selling of the beer. It has to be a quote unquote garden, which is fenced off. They have to have security. They have to go through Riverside County Sheriff's Department to still have the permit sign off. Everything that we are currently doing and working on our event coming up at the soccer park. This is just the first time we've had a nonprofit group request to do something not indoors. And so this would require action from the board. But staff's recommendation is that we approve the request from the American Cancer Society. And I'd be available as well as Billy Joel should you have any questions.
Well, the question I had was, it says the proposed event will begin in the afternoon of September 24th after all youth sports have concluded for the day. When is that?
That they need our answer now. It's one of their questions for us. Would this be approved? They're still 6 months out from their event. They're finalizing their details. And if they have the beer garden or not, we'll finalize their time frame. But I want to say you're talking about a 3 o'clock start time, correct, Billy Joe?
2 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Okay. My apology, 2 to 8, so.
We could do 3 to 9 if that is more feasible as well.
Okay. And that's a Saturday?
That's a Saturday, correct?
Okay.
And I'm sorry, is this the first time or we've done this before with?
We've hosted the Relay for Life event in the past. They held it last year out at Rancho Cucamonga Regional Sports Park. This would be the first time that they have the beer garden.
Do they have any projection as to the attendance?
Billy Joe, what's your anticipated attendance?
We're hoping for around 500 people this year. We're trying to grow this event again, so we're not really sure, and we've brought it into a county-wide event, so we're hoping to increase that participation.
Oh, so this isn't just for Northwest Riverside County, it's for Riverside County as a whole?
It's Riverside County East, so there's the eastern part or the western part of the global kind of goes Corona, and them report to a different event. Corona and that southwest of that.
Oh, they go to a different event?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, Billy Joe, it's Rupa Valley, Eastvale, Riverside, Moreno Valley, and part of the pass.
Yeah, the pass, and then even out to the desert, Palm
Okay.
Springs, all of that is incorporated into our event now.
As to where it used to be, I actually was the event chair when there was one just in the city of Hemet, and then there was one in San Jacinto, one in Menifee, one in Murrieta, one in Riverside, and we would have over 1,000 people at the individual events alone.
Mhm.
So you can see that it's scaled way back.
Yeah, I used to go to the one at Bishop Valley High School. Been there a few times with the Lions, did the walked on that track for 8 hours straight one day, to help with this. Luminary, if you've never been to that ceremony, I would highly recommend you go to that ceremony. It is very touching, and I would dare you not to cry at the end of it. I lost my father to cancer, so this is something that is also close near and dear to me too. So I have no problem with any of this.
No, I don't have any issue with it either.
Likewise, my mom is a breast cancer survivor and actually camped out at one of these events. So that was pretty fun when they used to do it at Rupa Valley High School, and
Yeah,
I was able to run a little bit more. So I could put in more laps, but yeah, I'm all in favor.
Yeah, likewise with me, my grandpa was died of cancer as well, so, and I participated at the ones that UCR would have as well, so. No issue with it.
All right, if there are no further questions, can I hear a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move the Board of Directors approve the request from the American Cancer Society to host a beer garden at Vernola Family Park on September 24th, 2022.
a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
If I could just add before we move on, Kathy Hill just joined us as well. We're having some technical difficulties. She is the staff member from the American Cancer Society. And Kathy will be pleased to hear the board approve your request.
He's still muted.
She's still muted, but she heard us.
Wonderful. Thank you guys for all your help and support on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
You too.
Mr. Goodwood, could you go on to the next?
Yes. Item number 2 on our agenda is discussion and possible approval of the 2022 Veterans Memorial Wall nominees. This is an event that's held annually. Unfortunately, obviously pandemic messed everything up the past 2 years. But back in 2020, the Memorial Wall Committee recommended the nominee of Robert Griggs be added to the wall. And unfortunately, about the next day is when the pandemic hit us. So that did not happen. And then this year, the Memorial Wall Committee is recommending the nomination of Laverne Mack McGee, Robert Humphreys, and Claude Briggs. With that, the committee reviewed their applications. They had the required DD 214. It should be noted, Claude Briggs does not have a DD 214. He was nominated by Ms. Johnson. He was the only known casualty in World War I from Rupa Valley. And unfortunately, their record keeping was not as stellar as it is today. With that, I turn it over to the committee. If they had any comments they'd like to make in regards to these nominees.
I will defer that to Mr. Edgar if you want to elaborate a little bit on our meeting and anything you want to add.
Okay, our meeting went pretty smoothly. We went over the names, some of the nominees. We went over the one that Ms. Johnson submitted, and yeah, so we had that discussion right about not there being an accurate record, but given the historical nature of it, I think it was safe to say that we to go forward with that one as well, and for the other ones as well. Y'all have a good history of having being active in Rupa Valley, so.
I would like to add, as the other committee member with Edgar, that we are looking to do a lot more. This was our first time, Edgar and I, and we've learned a lot. Want to get more involved earlier on, but these were good nominations that came in. The actually gathering of nominations really seems to be something that we want to focus on. So the future holds other committee members, but nonetheless, we'd like to state that we see that there are a few things that we can do in addition to what we already do. We did have some late discussion with a resident. Unfortunately, they were not able to bring the nominations forward. So it's something like that we don't want to happen in the future. So having said that, again, part of the feedback that we got was, didn't know, what the date were, the timelines. But we don't want that to happen. So we'll be working hard to, again, do not a better job, but just look at doing other things so that we can get these nominations in. But we were happy with what we got, and we would like to go forward with those 4.
And I would like to add, the Rotary Club of Rupa Valley has donated $600 as they do annually to cover the engraving on the memorial wall.
Fantastic. The only thing I would bring up is that I would like to make sure staff consults with.
I'm sorry?
The only thing I'd like to bring up is I'd like to make sure staff consults with Cindy McGee, Mac McGee's wife, to make sure that the way since he was known as Mac McGee, I would like her input as to how she would like his name to be engraved. I would hate to engrave Laverne I. McGee when actually everyone knew him as Mac. So I'd like to know what she wants to.
And we have a couple examples where there's other individuals on the wall that have a nickname on there. We can give examples how we've done it in the past, but to her preference.
Yes, to her preference.
I have a question. Are we still giving small plaques to the families? But now it has been we've been donating to pay for those small plaques for quite a long time. So I would like to, again, Diane and I donate the money to pay for those plaques.
One does not have to be donated for Claude Briggs because I don't think I've not been able to identify any family.
Well, I'll just let that in.
Yeah. Thank you. That's much appreciated.
Yeah.
So, we're to vote, right?
No. Do we have a motion? I move the board of directors approve the 2022 Veterans Memorial Wall nominees as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
And I don't believe there was a DD 214 in World War I.
There wasn't.
No, it didn't come out after even World War II.
Yep. And not even everybody.
Because I don't even believe the Department of Defense was officially in World War I.
Right.
All right, item 6.3. This is discussion of a possible 2.7 acre park site at Paradise Knolls development. The board is aware this has been an ongoing discussion we've been having between the city, the park district, and the developer for, frankly, almost 6 years now. Almost at least 5 years. I'm sorry. When the Paradise Knolls, and just to go back and give a little brief history, when the Paradise Knolls development came forward to start the actual construction after they received approval from the city for it, myself, Mr. Owen, Lynn Gruber sat down with the developers. At the time, the linear park as effectively referred to, was gonna be an HOA facility. The developer realized that they had park fees due to the district. And had discussion with us, and we worked with the city to convert that from an HOA park to a public facility that the district will maintain. In doing so, at the time, it became apparent that the park obligation to the district was gonna far exceed the development of the linear park. And so at the time, the board recognized the value of parkland, not just in the district, but especially south of Limonite. And so it was written into our agreement, the possibility of a second park being built and constructed and satisfying their park obligation as a whole. Now, this piece of land that we're gonna be discussing tonight is not necessarily the park that was identified that evening or in that original acquisition agreement. But there is a clause within the construction acquisition agreement that will allow for an alternate site. So should the board approve one of these sites tonight, this would qualify for the alternate site. Therefore, we would enter into some new negotiations with the developer for the possible either development of this site or payment of park fees or combination of both. When the CFD was built for Paradise Knolls as a whole, it was built with the assumption of a second park. With the understanding if a second park was never developed, the board would levy a lesser fee as appropriate to maintain the park there. So the funding will be there for a second park is what I'm getting at for the construction and the maintenance of it. So the way that this has come about, originally there was supposed to be an equestrian element part of Paradise Knolls. The developer has requested to not build that. The city has approved it with the condition that the land that would have been the initial phase of the equestrian element and the stables become a public park. That land is being deeded to the city. Their intention, even in the amendment to their specific plan, is that the land would be given to the park district. Should we decide we did not want that land, the land then goes back to the developer and they have to build it and maintain it as an HOA. Everybody understanding where we're at? I know it's a little convoluted. No matter what, a second park's gonna be built. If it's a public park or an HOA park is kind of what we decide tonight. The city has been given 2 park sites from the developer, and the city is requesting that we give them our preference tonight so they can create the transfer agreement that will come to us, ultimately dedicating the land to us. So the unique situation that Mr. Owen has been doing some research for us is typically when a developer builds a park for us, they still own the land, and part of us accepting it transfers the ownership to us at that point. So Mr. Owen's done a little bit of research as to this could be a unique situation of them developing our land. And I don't know if he has a complete answer if that's something we can do or not. Bob, you're muted.
Yes, you can certainly do it by contract. You could do the same way you do with a construction and acquisition agreement. In a construction and acquisition agreement, you say to the developer, you own the property, you build the park, you follow all the rules that we would follow if we did it, like getting 3 bids and doing public bidding, public advertisement, et cetera. The only difference would be that the park district owns it. So you could do all that by contract, but my recommendation would be, I'm curious why the city wants the ownership to go the way that has been described. And so I would just caution that I would not clear it, but I would take the city's temperature to make sure they're okay with that, so it doesn't create a problem between you and the city before we do it.
Yeah, the land will be deeded to us. We would own it.
I understand.
Yeah, my understanding is why it was done this way. is going forward at the time, city attorney and the developer frankly didn't want to do a three-party agreement to an amendment to a specific plan. It just convoluted the situation, as you could understand.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so what we have in front of us tonight to discuss is two parcels. My opinion, only one of the parcels is viable because of the floodplain here. So in front of us here on this screen is a portion of the track map here. The land, I'm gonna stand up here so I can point here. I'm sorry. I'm not trying. No, you're not in the way. You want to move so you can see.
Is this option one you're looking at now?
Well, what this is the only map I have laid out like this. This is the first phase that's under construction right now. And this is Equestrian Way. And basically what they proposed us is two options, one with the park below Equestrian Way or south of Equestrian Way, and one of it north of Equestrian Way. This purple line is the Fema floodplain. Just so I can point it out. Me personally, I feel this is not our best option. Too far south, close to the river. The levee is essentially down here in the lower portion of it. That's this other purple line here. I just don't think it's our best option. I think our better option will be the map we pull up here, which places the parcel basically at 64th Street where it comes in. Now, the confusion is if you were to go out to the park right now, this or the development, this little piece of land, this little street right here is labeled Equestrian Way with a street sign. That's incorrect. That's being corrected. It'll be 64th. Equestrian Way is yet to be built. So
The difference in size between the two plots?
they're 2.75 acres plus or minus a little bit, but they're essentially the same. So here is the 2.75 acres above it. I'm sorry, I didn't have the correct map. There was a different map they provided me with that didn't have it. You can see that the floodplain would be in the southern portion of that land.
Yeah, but
Far less.
but the FEMA floodplain line, they say is being relocated to the top of the slope.
Correct.
So my only thing is, I don't want to have to maintain that slope. I want my entire park outside of that floodplain.
Yeah, and I believe doing so, the floodplain will be down here in the lower section. The park should be 100% out of it.
Not if we take the slope, because the floodplain line is going to be at the top of the slope,
What slope?
the slope on the map. At the bottom of at the southern end of the park, it says FEMA floodplain to be relocated to the top of the slope.
Right, according to that, does put the bottom half of,
So no, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be.
So they're relocating it to the top of the slope, which will slope down to Equestrian Way. I do not know what that slope grade is or how big it is. It's very, very minimal.
Okay, I just don't want there to be any special things having to do like at Riverbend, how, there's soil cement on that slope.
No, yeah, there's not that much.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's, let me move forward here to some pictures I took. This is somewhat, my great artistic ability here, showing you how it would be the 2.75 acres on a aerial map, how it would lay out in the area. It's essentially just west of the parking lot to the Downey Street property. This is taken from the terminus of Downey Street, looking north towards 61st Street, which was that piece I told you was, so the park would actually sit below 64th. There is a slope there. The next one is just a little further down, a little further back, giving a better view of that slope. This is looking back towards Downey Street. It's essentially just past this light pole you see sticking up here on top. And then this last one is looking down towards, you can see the levee there, right through here. So the park would end somewhere in this area right in here.
There is a slope there because that was the 12th hole.
Yes.
So there was a slope quite a bit.
Yes.
So the city has no requirements or any discussions with the relationship between this park and the Downey Street property?
They have no requirement.
Like, yeah, they're not saying, and we want an opening, or we want this, or we want that. No.
No, nothing has been discussed in regards to that. There is no caveats as to the development of this facility, what it must include. I was clear on that there's not going to be that we are not forced to build an equestrian arena. Things along those lines.
Okay,
If this is a blank slate, as we have with any of our park projects.
okay,
That's not saying that we can't build whatever we want, but there's no
requirements.
requirement that we have to build. Because this was a highly discussed topic at the planning commission and the city council in regards to it. The term used by many was a bait and switch. You know, there was a lot of residents that were very upset that the equestrian element was removed. And my concern was that there's nothing forcing us to develop an equestrian facility. So frankly, at 2.75 acres is not large enough.
Right.
So
It's about half the size of Clay Park, if you want to
Yeah.
some sense of what the size of it'll be. Always helps me to have that visual. And for some reason, I always go, because it's so nice and rectangular. Okay, what size is it compared to Clay Park? That's always my part. What is it supposed to be? So we're just supposed to provide you direction. We're not supposed to vote on anything.
yeah, I want to know your preference on
Yeah,
the facility, so we will formally write a letter to the city. We like option, I believe it's option 2. And they will then finish preparing the legal document for the transfer of the park. And that needs to also be finalized so the developer can finalize their track map for this planning area.
I like your recommendations and I agree to what you've posed for us, so thank you for that.
yeah. I'm fine with it as well. Number 2, north of Equestrian Way.
The linear park is parallel to Equestrian, more or less?
No, let me go back up to this other one just to show you here.
Linear parks on the Rancho Group Road.
Yeah, so the linear park, if you're looking at this one, is in this area. This is Rancho Rupa Road.
Oh,
It'll be portion of it over here and the rest kind of meanders back into this corner back here. And it's 4.7 acres.
Yeah, I'm for being north, but higher than floodplain as well, although it doesn't really flood down there much, but
That 100-year flood, right?
it's actually happened once since we've lived here.
Yeah.
Where when they couldn't use the back nine of the golf course because it was all underwater, so it has happened at least in the last 30 years.
I believe since then, the levee was rebuilt as well.
Yes, it was. The levee collapsed and it was in bad shape after that.
And I do believe part of this project, they have to either rebuild or reinforce it, or there's some further work happening to it.
So I can attest to the fact that it has happened at least once in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So that land south of the Equestrian Way, are they gonna build that or is that gonna stay open?
I think that's what they're trying to decide. Obviously, the builder would prefer having the park south of Equestrian Way because they can build houses here. And that was their first presentation. And as you can imagine, that wasn't something that I was keen of and requested them to redraw some stuff here, so.
Well, that's because that's originally, I believe, with the equestrian center and expansion of, if necessary, you know.
Majority was within the flood.
Was all in floodplain, yeah.
A good chunk of the land south of Equestrian Way is considered open space and will be going to the city. So there's been a number of different variations of this. There's a lot of traffic concerns regarding Equestrian Way. The long sweepingness of it, I guess. They're not creating a quote unquote racetrack. You know, those are things that are being considered as well.
For option two.
Yes, you know.
I think we're all in agreement.
Do we want to, Bob, do we need a motion on this? I think it was just guidance, correct?
That's all it says is
Yeah.
provide direction to staff.
Perfect. Yep. I think I have the direction I need then.
Do you present this to the?
You're muted, but I believe you said yes.
Do you present this to the city after?
Yeah, I'll type up a letter and submit it on our behalf. And we'll get that over to them. The developer is really pushing for it ASAP, but we'll work on it sometime next week.
What I was trying to say, Colby, was only if the city has asked for it. I mean,
Yeah, they haven't asked for a resolution, no, because they'll perform, they're gonna provide an agreement that will go for Bob's for review, a transfer agreement is what they're referring it to it as. And then Bob will review that prior to coming to the board for approval as well. Based on our preference, they can prepare the document now. And we didn't come back and try to change it. All right.
Okay.
Discussion and possible approval for the HVAC improvements to the district office. All right, so since we've occupied this building, we've had some climate control issues. So if you've been in a meeting in this building during the day, you can hang meat in this room at times. And in Kurt and Zena's office.
Right now.
You're chilling right now? Okay, that's fair.
I don't know about anybody else.
That's why I bring a sweater now.
In Kurt and Zena's offices, it's almost a sauna. So we've taken some measures, tinted their windows and stuff to help it some. With them being south facing, that sun just beats on them and warms it up. Brought in a couple different HVAC companies. And staff is recommending the proposal from Certified Air. I think they took the most logical approach to addressing our issues. You know, they physically went up, they looked at all the ducts. They looked at how everything was routed, mapped it out. The awkward thing is there's a thermostat in the front office right here that controls the front lobby, this room, and Zena's office. The thermostat in Loretta's office controls Loretta's office, the accounting area, and Kurt's office. Yeah, and my office. And then the thermostat in Damien's office is Damien's office. The copier room.
The kitchen.
One other area,
The
kitchen.
break.
Yeah, the break area. And they said, basically their response was, we have plenty of tonnage for this building, you know, to be able to cool the size of this building. You don't need to put new units up bigger, you know, bigger isn't always better. And one of the things we talked about was the use of this room right here particularly. It's the largest room in the building and it gets used the least. We have 2 board meetings here a month and then a couple meetings throughout the week in here. So we're effectively heating, cooling a large room that is used very, very little. Their proposal is essentially to put a baffle in the ducting, which is a butterfly valve on a switch that we flip it. It doesn't completely close it. We still want to have some airflow, but definitely reduces that. But, you know, before a meeting, just come in here a few minutes early, you flip the switch and it'll take the airflow through here. The rest of the time, they'll take that unused air and push it to our needed parts of the building. They're also recommending upsizing a couple of ducts and stuff like that to handle that. The other proposal we had was one of the groups wanted to come in here, put a much bigger unit on Loretta's area, reduct the whole area. They wanted to put what they call a split unit, which will be like the small AC unit up here in the wall with another condenser up on the roof, just for this room right here, and then upsize the unit that Damien's office runs. And that was, north of $25,000. And then the third one was just basically upsize everything, just kind of I refer to as the garage band mentality, crank it up to 11, that makes it sound better. Crank up, put bigger units, and it's more power kind of a scenario. And one of them actually wasn't even registered with the DIR, so we couldn't even accept their bid ultimately. So that's where we're at. We've had a great relationship with Certified Air in the past. I think they come in with a logical approach to things, not just throw a lot of money at it, He did say ultimately down the road, if the air conditioning unit above, when it ultimately goes out, the one above Loretta's office, a slightly bigger one would help, but it's not for the money right now. It's not. I don't want to replace something that's not broken.
Isn't it brand new?
It's newer. It's within about 7 years old. So we'd be just throwing money out the window right now, was kind of his recommendation. So that's where we're at. Like I said, our recommendation is that we go with Certified Air, and we do have funds in our building maintenance available for this.
Sounds like you've done a due diligent approach, so I would agree.
Well, I honestly, this should have been done earlier. Had it not been for the pandemic, it'd probably been done a year and a half ago. Zena puts up with a lot in that office there. It's
Just no airflow.
it just gets stuffy, stagnant. Part of the proposal is another option we could look at, but his recommendation is not right away, is in both Kurt and Zena's office, add another return to help get that airflow down below from up top to get that warm, hot air out of there quicker. But he still thinks that this alone is going to take care of the problem so much that we don't need to take that next step. And if we have to, if it doesn't fix it, we can go in and do it down the road. We don't have to do it right now.
Yeah, I don't think we should hesitate. For approval, or you're looking for direction?
Questions or, we can.
We have a
I
motion.
move the board of directors accept the proposal from Certified Air for modifications to the HVAC system at the district office not to exceed $6,841.50.
I second that motion.
All right, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
You just made Miss Whitney extremely happy. Kurt too, but he's not in the office as much, so. But thank you. All right, workshop on the Ranch Trooper Regional Sports Park. This is an item the board requested about 6 weeks ago. I'm bringing it to you as a series. You requested an update on the sports park, the Eddie D. Smith Senior Center, and the Skyview Event Center. Now that we've been operating them for all three of them for about a year now, kind of pandemic-ish. So what I've done is prepare a PowerPoint for you. So bear with me. Some of this may be repeat information, but I want to make sure we cover it all here.
For our audience, like to put a chair over here. So.
Yeah, Diana, would you like to move so you can see it, please?
Back to it, set up.
All right, what is this? No, I don't want to, so that was a try. So just to review, it's a 34-acre facility, has about 400 parking spaces. There are 4 turf fields with lights, 2 full-size grass fields with lights, 6 youth-size fields. None of those have lights, and those are often divided up even to smaller fields for some of the smallest kids. There's snack bar with restroom facilities. There's a large shelter, there's 4 smaller shelters at the facility, and then a large playground. As you guys are aware, we've talked about it, this facility is being utilized very, very heavily. Current user groups, we have 8 soccer groups using it. We have 2 football groups, and then we're also processing 2 applications for flag football leagues right now. In addition to that, we have a number of adult leagues that use the facility during the evenings and weekends. Upcoming tournaments, we do have a football tournament scheduled for July 23rd. And then the Locomotion tournament is looking to come back again in late November, which is similar to the one that was just held out there on, was it President's Weekend, about a little over a month and a half ago. We have 2 upcoming special events there, which will be the Fiesta in the Park, which is June 11th, and then our jumper event that we're looking at in September. And then I think that will obviously become the permanent home of our fall spectacular as well. For just again, for reference here, when the district did acquire this facility from the county through our use agreement, one of the things that the proponents from the youth sports really pushed was that we could better utilize the facility than the county was. And not to knock the county staff in any way. I couldn't run a campground as well as they could. You know, this is just not in their, it was not in their wheelhouse. I really think our staff have worked well with the guidance from the board to develop policies that encouraged its use, made it a simpler process. The example, when our fee structure came forward, the county's fee structure was an hourly rate for everybody based upon the tier they were in. So the example is AYSO being a nonprofit youth organization. Everything they were billed was based on hours. And that was extremely cumbersome on staff. And when we reviewed that, it was kind of we can't do it this way. We sat down with the youth organization, looked at the historical bills that we've been provided from the county, and we put in a fee structure similar to what we do with our regular youth sports groups. Granted, it's a much higher rate. All in all, we're actually saving AYSO money on an annual basis. And we are expending far less staff time dealing with their bills on a regular basis. I know kind of a horror story that was relayed to us was they couldn't get somebody to be their quote unquote field person for AYSO because the rumor was you had to spend a couple hours a week in the park office straightening out your bill. You know, yes, this team used the field. No, this team didn't use the field, you know, things like that. So we've kind of gone with a blanket fee structure that is working much, much better. In return, we're also have worked with the leagues to free up some of the space that we've been able to bring in more of the adult groups on the evenings and weekends. For the most part, that has worked very well for us. The weeknight adult leagues have been very consistent and for the most part, good to deal with. We've also been able to bring in a lot more of the youth private club groups during the evenings and weekends that are bringing in significant revenue for the park. I can tell you one of the Sunday adult leagues has been a challenge, primarily involved related to drinking on the facility, to the point that we have now suspended them for one Sunday about 2 weeks ago. And they are on notice that if we have a problem with them again on drinking, they are going to lose their permit. That was the kind of kick they needed to get their league organizer to get their Sunday staff in shape. We're hoping it doesn't come to the point that we have to take their permit from them, but it's something that we are prepared to do. We want to be good neighbors. You know, not only were they drinking in our parking lot, they were drinking on Loring Ranch. They were leaving trash. You know, while that's not necessarily our problem because outside the facility, it still is our problem. Those are our users. We want to be good neighbors for the residents there. We've worked with the city to help with some of the parking situations there, trying to lessen the impact on the community. I think it's helping. So, you know, that is something I want the board to be aware of. All in all, our staff has worked extremely hard getting that facility in place. Kurt and Dean, who are out there, Dean's out there on a daily basis, and Kurt as the manager, have worked extremely hard to get the irrigation system up to par. When we took it over, there were inadequate nozzles, there were broken lines, there were, temporary fixes in place. Kurt with his turf knowledge and management experience, and Dean with his extremely hard work ethic have been a perfect fit out there. They have really taken that pride in getting that facility up to par. One of the biggest complaints we had was that the fields were just sloshy, the grass fields. They were overwatering it because we're on a well system with a storage tank. Water is extremely cheap out there. I wish we had it at all of our facilities, frankly. So there's kind of mentality of water it, it'll make it greener. Well, that's not necessarily the case. We're using far less water than what the county was. And in my opinions, now that it's warming up, the fields that are gonna be playing on this coming season are gonna be the best since opening day. It's really looking very, very, very good out there. But with that being said, it's been a challenge to get to this point. Like I said, we've spent a lot of money replacing heads, replacing nozzles. We've had some vandalism and theft out there. We had a lot of wire stolen at the get-go. It was cheaper and easier for us to buy a welder, an aluminum welder, and have our staff go out there and weld everything shut than it was to keep replacing wire, the obvious situations there. So we've got that stuff under control. We've had to go through and screw down valve boxes and stuff so people aren't getting in there. It's amazing what happens at some of these facilities overnight. The dumpster area, has the two big doors you open up for the trash man to come and pick it up. And there was a man gate to get into it. Well, there wasn't a gate on it, there was a walkway. There wasn't a gate on that. Staff welded one up to keep people out of there, because at night there was a local that would hop the fence, come in there and literally take every single trash bag out of the dumpster and rip them open and dig through it. They weren't taking anything of value. The aluminum cans were still there. If they were in the trash, the plastic was there. We don't know what they were doing. The staff was coming in and just finding and literally having to reload all the trash into the dumpster. So we've addressed those types of situations. All the lights within the facility are now working for the parking lot and the walkways. A lot of those were not working prior to us taking over for either bulbs or bad connections on wires. So we've really had to put a lot into that. That being said, I'm extremely proud of where we are at within the facility. The other thing we did was AYSO was running the snack bar as part of their youth organization. And by their own admission, it was not efficiently ran. They had a lot of challenges getting people in there on a regular basis to run it. They only ran it on Saturdays, and even at that was somewhat sporadic. When we took it over, one of the agreements was we were going to take over the snack bar and run it. That's one of the reasons we were able to kind of lessen their fees. The approach from the district was we're going to have staff at this facility anyways. If we're operating the snack bar, let's generate some revenue while we're out there. So what I have here for you is some numbers from our budget. And these are actuals as of March 31st. And I'll be honest with you, even since then, these numbers are not correct. A significant amount of revenue has come in since then. Our budgeted facility rentals, that's all of our user groups. Our youth sports, the adult leagues, the tournaments, all that stuff is budgeted at $375,000. Facility rentals as of March 31st was $178,000. We're actually over 200 now.
It says 300, not 375.
Did I say 275? I'm sorry.
You said 375.
Oh, I'm sorry, 300.
Okay.
Yeah, budget is 300, actuals, it's over 200 now. And that's just because AYSO paid all their use fees, which was about almost $20,000. Annually, AYSO's bill is in the $80,000 range for this facility. That's including lights and everything. Player fees, we're at 23,000, and that's we're gonna meet our goals there in our budget. I do think our facility rentals may fall slightly short of the $300,000 projection. And some of that is pandemic related. You know, early in this fiscal year, a lot of organizations canceled activities, events going on out there. The uncertainty of it, there wasn't as many kids and adults playing in different programming. But I do still feel going forward that 300,000 is the correct number, you know, for next year's budget. Field use fees,
I've got a different amount on field use.
did I type it wrong?
I've got 14,025.
Thank you. It should be 14,000, not 4,500. That's my, that must be an error on my end. I didn't think it was that far off either. I still think we're gonna be close to field use fees. So this is as of March 31st. We still have, some of the groups still have, they have till the end of April to pay their March bill still. So we have revenue coming in still to bring these numbers up to where they should be. And we have a 25% of our fiscal year left still. Concessions, we're just under our concession goal for the year. And we're only 3 weeks into our youth, second youth season of the year. And to be honest, our concessions are down a little bit because we haven't had the staff to open the snack bar during the week. So we're only opening it on the weekends right now. So going forward, as we're getting more staff on, we'll talk about that later, I feel this number is going to be probably increased, frankly. And then light fees. Light fees are way above what we had budgeted. And when we get to the expenses, you're going to see our electricity is way above too. So this is something we're going to have to adjust. You know, this is the first real year we've actually ran the park. So we'll be adjusting those as part of the budget process. These are expenses. So the top half is under the recreation, our telephone bill. You know, we're gonna be a little under our budget. Our alarm is gonna be over budget. One of the things we did though, when we took that facility over from the county, the alarm system they had in there, literally they went out and bought it at Target. You know, it was just a very simple alarm system. It just wasn't protecting the facility as needed. We have added the 80T, thank you, alarm system that we use at the other facilities to it. And there's one on the maintenance building now, and then one on the snack bar building, just to better protect our assets. So we are gonna be slightly over there, but nothing of significance at this point. We will adjust it. There is, I think, an error in our formula we're gonna get to fix, because there's no rent lease part of that.
Part of that is the copy machine, which we budgeted for that anyway.
Yeah.
When we did our copy machines, we bought 3 smaller copy machines, one for the Smith Center, one for Skyview, and one for there. And they're running a special buy 2, get the 3rd free, and I put the free one there.
Yeah.
So that one, they're not charging us for the monthly lease. So for the 5 years, 60-month agreement that we signed last year, we're not gonna have any copy machine. We have it there, they can use it, but it's not being charged, and it's all made that 0 for next year. Okay.
And then the concessions are a little over right now. Everything's gone up in cost, obviously, as we're all aware. And then we did have to make a large purchase to start up the season here. And a lot of the revenue has come in after the March 31st date. So that's a little skewed there. But really the big thing here is water. This is for our potable water. We have one water meter for our Rubio Community Services District, which is the bathrooms, the drinking fountains. We budgeted 3,000, we really didn't know what to guess. You know, it really was a guess. I think that's something we'll be able to adjust here. We're obviously significantly below that. Electricity, we budgeted 42.5. We're obviously at 56,000 right now. That's going to be adjusted going forward with the budget, but we have the revenue and the lights to offset that. Landscape supplies, this is our fertilizer, our sprinklers, all that type of stuff. We've spent a lot of money out there in this facility, getting it to where it needs to be. My proposal for the upcoming fiscal year is to keep this landscape supply there. Just so we're maintaining this as a pristine facility. We are starting to get a reputation of it being a quality facility. We want to keep it that way. It looks great from afar, but there was problems with it in the past. And we want to make sure we're maintaining it as we need to. Again, custodial is one that we were doing our best guess at. We're a little bit off. We're gonna have to add some money to that as well. And again, our custodial costs are, like everything else, have just gone up. And this is by custodial, it's not a custodial service. This is toilet paper, trash bags, cleaning supplies, those types of things. Building maintenance, we're at 10.5. And equipment right below that, we've blown our budget, and that's primarily because of the vandalism. We had about $8,000 in wire theft associated with the building. We've just spread it across those two accounts this year. That's our biggest challenges there. As well as with building, we did have some plumbing. We had to bring in a plumber to repair that were beyond our maintenance abilities. And the valves associated with those bathrooms are very unique, and they have been very costly to replace. Contract services, we haven't spent anything there.
That's actually supposed to be contract exterminator
Yeah.
services, and I don't, are we having it, do we have them?
We have a little, I don't know why it's showing up. in
I'm
those
gonna find out and
numbers.
see if that has it, and, because we're having to go out and check, are they on our list with?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we will
That's
verify that one
exterminator.
for you, but it wouldn't be exceeding our contractor. So all in all, our budgeted expenditures, grand total is 117,000. We're at 133 right now. So don't be scared by this number on the next page here right now. We're projected to be in the black by almost $100,000. That doesn't account for our overhead costs. That $100,000 is me, Kurt, our hours associated to those types of things, admin costs and stuff as well. Right now, as of March 31, we are actually upside down by $37,000. But based on talking with staff, the money that's come in since that date, we're almost at zero right now. Or the bills that are outstanding, we're at zero. At the end of the year, I am confident we are going to be in the black. We're not going to be at that $100,000 mark like we projected, but we're going to be in a comfortable position moving forward. What's next? We're working on the 2022-23 budget right now. We'll be working on some of these budgets right now. I can see Mr. Godin is smiling here. One of the things you kind of heard us talk about is the turf tank. The best way to describe that is the Roomba of field marking. Currently, the way that field marking is taking place out there, it's either our staff, it's volunteers from AYSO, or it's people that work with the adult leagues or the youth club programs. And it's a rainbow of colors out there. Everybody's using a different color. We got pink, green, I don't know why they grew green paint on green grass, but somebody did. Black, white, yellow. It's somewhat in the Wild West when it comes to it. Our proposal is we want to bring in the turf tank, and we'll have a whole separate discussion on that as part of the budget and an agreement with that if it would be approval. But we would take over all the painting of the fields. We've had discussions with AYSO, and we actually had a demonstration of the product in which they were there. If you go out there, and I'm sure you've all been there sometime, you look down the line and they're crooked to be nice. This thing, it laid down as near perfect of a line as possible. It's really a product that I think we want to invest in to make our facility look the best out there. These kids and these adults coming out there, those straight lines mean a lot to them. That's pristine. That's something you don't get in a typical park facility. And doing so, we're going to be able to adjust we'll be adjusting our fees. We won't allow anybody else to be painting on the facility. That'll be our responsibility to be part of their rental fees. Whether it's an add-on fee or something built in is something we have to look at. But the nice thing about the turf tank is it will paint any sports field out there. I follow them now on social media, and today it was painting a baseball field. Kind of blew my mind, but it paints on the dirt too. We can actually even program it to paint parking stalls. And it's not good at just this facility. We can program it to paint the facilities at Vernola, Centennial, Avalon, Memorial, anything. It's part of the programming and it's unlimited. So there's a lot of advantages that we would have with that as well. But it's something I would really like to see us do, and then we're, you know, the other part of it is AYSO, they're on board with this, they love the idea, and they've agreed that they will take what they're paying right now in paint alone, which is somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 to contribute towards this. This is how, that's how much they would like to see us invest in this. We have more tournaments coming. We actually, staff met with the owner and operator of Silver Lakes about 2 weeks ago. They are looking at potentially renting some various weekends from us for overflow from their main tournament. You know, primarily be Friday, Saturday stuff, and then their championship games would still take place at their facility there in Norco. And they also have some week-long stuff that they're looking at. So there's a lot of tournaments that will be coming out of this. There's a balance we have to make, though. We can't just beat the facility to death, then it will look horrible. You know, it's got to have some rest period. So we're working on those types of things as well. The problem we have is the leagues want to give us our rest period in December when it's cold and grass won't grow. So that doesn't necessarily work for us either. So we're working with the different leagues and stuff to make sure they understand, you know, we need some time during the warmer months too to work on the fields. You know, getting them to buy into our maintenance plan, because it's going to make the facilities better for them in the long run. As part of our use agreement for this facility, there is an acquisition agreement as well. I think we need to work on executing that over the next year or so here, getting that turned over to the Parks District. So it is fully our facility, not under an operational agreement with the county. After that, I think we need to look at the possibility of solar. Our solar facility here at the Rupa Community Center is really making an impact in our operational costs. As you guys can tell from the previous screen there, our biggest expense is electricity. If there's something that we could do that the rate of return, as we talked about earlier, pencils out, I think it's something we should definitely look at. And the other thing that would help us is some more lights on the grass field. We can't do all of them because of the adjacent of the airport. And it wouldn't really be for game facilities, but for practices. If we can get some lights on the fields just to the west of the snack bar area, just those first two fields, that would be available for practices. That would free up the game facilities during the week that AYSO is utilizing, especially during the winter months, which would help us generate more revenue. We're looking at options right now. We have some different things we're looking at, and we'll be talking, you know, over with the leagues and the board in the coming months in regards to those. So it's interesting. We are limited on how much we can light the facility because of the airport, how high they can be and how far west they can go. So basically it's just those first two fields closest to the snack bar and the playground that we would be able to potentially light. The lights right now on the other big fields are like 80 and 90 feet. I think the highest we can go is 60. And even that might be overkill for what we need to do for practice facilities. I am sure you have lots of questions for me and ideas. I hope this was the information you were looking for. Anthony wanted to be here today, but it's his birthday, so we told him he didn't have to come. So, but with that, I can answer questions. Loretta may have information. I'm here for you.
The practice fields, are they part of the leagues? The teams of players, those require a permit as well?
Yes, yeah, so, you know, the challenge right now is, you know, really AYSO, their core recreation program. I'm gonna pull this up on, I'll pull up a Google Earth picture for you. They're really used about 24 weeks a year. You know, maybe 25. Where's my? Whoa, where'd we go? Why did it take me to Motel 6? All right, so it went far. So it's these fields here that are the non-lit fields. Those are the ones that are not utilized as much because of, you know, during recreation season during the winter months, it's dark over there. They could use them from 4 to 5. That's about it. Honestly, we're really hoping that this time change with daylight savings goes through because they'll give them almost another hour of daylight during the winter months. It'd be a huge area to free up some of our on fields 1 through 6 on the east side there.
So the 6 fields to the right, those are all the artificial?
These 4 are artificial, these 2 are
Okay, these
natural
are
grass.
Okay.
Yeah, those fields are actually in pretty good shape too, being that they're about 10 years old now. We did have a couple little rips we had to repair. It's not a horrible expense. But it's, we do maintain them. We invested in the field groomer. One of the things we did as part of this past budget year, if you remember, the machines that were out there weren't working. The county just wasn't grooming them fields and maintaining them. The first time Dean really took that machine and cleaned it up, we must have 20 pounds of bobby pins that came out of those fields, just sucking those things up, and the bottle caps and the little white ring, this little bottom white ring here. It seemed like a million of the stupid things that were picked up, hair things, sunflower seeds, just little things like that. Redistributed the black pellets that help fluff it up, and it's made the playing fields much better. We've had comments on that. That's something we do on a regular basis, at least once a month, and sometimes more often, depending on the use of on the fields. And that those types of things that we need to be doing that are going to extend the life of these fields. They should get another 10 years worth of use out of them.
There's another gear, right, 46. So there's an
Crestmore, there's a quote unquote fire access. One of the things that we're talking about doing is actually pouring a concrete path from the sidewalk to the walkway within Crestmore. Because of the drinking issues we've had on Sundays, and it's only Sundays really, I worked with both the sheriff's department and the fire department. This entrance on Sundays is no longer being opened. It's only the Crestmore entrance. Loring Ranch here with solid cars both sides of people coming for the adult soccer leagues, playing on fields 1, 2, 3, and 4. Absolutely impacting the neighborhood. And then after the games, they're drinking there and leaving their trash. These parking lots, 80% empty. So by closing that, we're forcing them to come through and park in the parking lot, containing our issues within our facility and trying to be better neighbors. So one of the things that we're going to get some people parking on Crestmore. So we're opening that gate that they can walk through, but we need to make it an actual walkway just in case for ADA issues as well.
So that'll be on Sundays only?
Right now it's Sundays only. We've been opening on Saturdays, I believe, as well. We don't have this parking issues on Saturdays. On Loring Ranch, parking on the west side of Loring Ranch, the park side, is permitted. The east side is no parking all the way from Crestmore all the way up. That was something that was put in years and years ago. One of the things we worked with the city when we took it over is on the park side, there is no parking from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. 7 days a week. That was to help deal with the drinking situation out there. It's helped a little bit, but also there was a number of truck drivers that were parking there over the weekend. And you get truck and trailer parking there. That's taking up, 6, 8 spots. You get 2 of them. Half of that road's now gone, not available for our residents to use. And so that we're not having a truck parking there overnight because they're afraid of getting that ticket. So that's helped as well.
Any other kind of sports reach out to try to have a tournament? I think there's paintball.
Anthony's in discussion with an ultimate frisbee tournament, something different. We do have a Challenger Sports soccer camp 2 weeks scheduled this summer. We're trying to get more of those activities. Quidditch calls every now and then. We haven't heard from them in a while, so I don't know what will happen with that. We've had a little bit of interest from rugby. We're very hesitant on rugby because rugby just tears up the fields for some reason. We don't want to damage the fields in any way that not makes, that costs us more to repair than we would have generated in revenues from it.
Any paintball?
The paintball group had looked at coming back last year. Their tournament is in the fall. So we haven't heard from them yet if they'll be back, if they want to come back. Pandemic, did not happen, so.
Does that wash off the turf?
Yes, it's all water soluble paint, yeah. So
Maybe rugby could go over to Centennial.
maybe rugby could go to Centennial, yes. That's something we've talked about, so we're getting more and more calls from user groups on a regular basis. A lot of club soccer, we can't accommodate them at this point. So, we'll see where we go.
Any cricket? Because I know I see people
We have-
playing cricket at Centennial.
We have cricket that started again this past weekend at Centennial. We charge them a very nominal fee. We just want somebody out there frankly using the facility. I don't think cricket wants what's their,
Wicket?
that one's called wicket. They have that dirt.
Oh, then I don't know. Not around.
It's what they pitch on, they bounce it. I don't know what they call that, but they want that section and they're mad we won't let them build one at Centennial permanently because it would really just mess up the use of the facility for anything else. We haven't had any requests for cricket at this facility that I know of. So we have the football, we have a tackle football tournament that'll be out there July 23rd, that weekend. And then 2 other youth flag football programs have inquired about using it. Flag football is really growing in popularity over tackle. The past 10 years, tackle football has just had a slight decline every year for, presumably safety concerns, but so.
The only thing I would suggest is, I really think there needs to be a separate line item on the budget for vandalism as opposed to.
You are 100% correct. Yeah, and that's something, when we start talking budgets here, we'll have a budget presentation next board meeting. Our vandalism across the district is horrible. It's been worse this year, but to be honest, I was not aware, we weren't always charging to vandalism as we should have been. We were just buying the paint, charging building supplies and fixing it, or buying, the repair parts. So we're actually tracking our vandalism better now. And as we switch to our new app, hopefully next year, that'll give us even greater tracking abilities. We really need to be able to have a better handle on what our actual vandalism is. And it's gonna be quite concerning.
And if they catch the person, we could
And
potentially.
if we
get-
catch the person, one thing we'll be taking better tracking of is through the app of what our actual costs were. Both in materials and staff time. So if we do catch somebody and they are convicted and we do get some restitution, it may take 8 years, but we may get something back.
Gotcha.
So.
And adding vandalism right now to that next year one item.
Any other questions?
In terms of the lights, is it like a program that they go off at a certain time or turn on?
So another thing that we did is this has the Musco lighting system out there. And within that, we can give user groups access to it. The county didn't want to handle it that way. It's one of the things that we, when I started, we initiated with the youth groups out at Vernola, is we gave them the access to their lights from when you have it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you have it Tuesday, Thursday. You can only turn it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you go in on Tuesday, Thursday. It helped with a number of things. Our staff did make mistakes, and we messed up your lights Monday, Wednesday, they went off at 8 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. It's the middle of the game, you're not happy, you gotta call the on-call. The on-call's gotta call Damien's gotta turn the lights back on. It takes 15, 20, 30 minutes, you're all frustrated, you're mad at us. We put it back on the league that they can control their lights. The other nice thing is your game on Wednesday ends early for whatever reason. you turn the lights off from your cell phone and you're now saving however many dollars that night. As to where before, nope, those lights burned even though nobody was out there. And then we'd get the occasional call, how come you're wasting money? I drove by the park and there was nobody out there and the lights were on. You know, so it really, that was a win-win for everybody. We did the same thing here at the soccer group. And we couldn't manage the light schedules. We really couldn't with that many different user groups. So it's really helped us a lot as well. And frankly, when you run the report, so if you run the report here for AYSO for the month of March, it'll tell them how many hours they saved by turning off early. You know, and it adds up over the course of the year to be a big chunk of money. So that's helpful as well. Perfect. I hope I was able to answer the questions you guys had, and everything is specific for the senior center, which will be next month, and then Skyview, which will be in June. Please let me know so I can do what I can to address it for you. I think you'd be extremely excited for that. Madam Chair, would you like my general manager report?
Yes, I was about to
Too
ask.
much of you talking tonight.
No, I didn't want you to get tired, but yes, I was going to ask.
Just a couple things I want to touch on. This weekend is our spring fling here at Agate Park. As I said earlier, joking, I think this is the first time we've had an Easter egg hunt in 15 years at one of our facilities. We planned it the last two, and they've been a drive-through event, but it's just not the same. So we're really excited for that. Staff's done a great job putting it together. Like I said, we have 12,000 eggs that we'll be hiding. We've also brought in some vendors this year just to help add to the event. And we did not charge them, but they requested that they had to provide a gift basket geared towards a specific age group and with like a $25 value. So there'll be special eggs out there with numbers in them that they'll win one of the gift baskets. So something unique about that. So we're really excited for that event. Look like we're gonna have some great weather for it. So we hope you're all able to make it out. Today was the health fair at the senior center as well. Again, we've got a drive-through the last 2 years. Drive-through health fair is just not the same. I was able to make it out there. I did post a bunch of pictures to our social media page. The senior center was live streaming some of it. It was a great turnout. The seniors were excited, taking advantage of the services that were there, blood pressure tests, checks, checking for different doctors and stuff, different cataracts and things like that, giving consultations. These are the services provided. You had people there from the county that are offered, the state, with the telephone services, the big buttons and stuff like that they may need. Also the cell service and the cell phone training classes that we offer there. The Braille Institute was there. I can't remember all of them. There was about 18 different vendors, I want to say is what we ended up with. So it was great. The seniors were having a good time. Watching them come in, they're all smiles. They were excited for the day. They're excited to just be there. So it was really, really good to see. I am pleased to tell you that as of today, we have 10 employees in various forms of the onboarding process. So we're excited to see that. And as you guys walked in, the kids you guys saw here in the lobby, they're all here for job interviews. Staffs was working. They had forgot we had a closed session tonight and couldn't use the boardroom, so I had to sacrifice my conference room table for them. But those were all here for lifeguard interviews, so we're excited about that as well. Not saying we're where we need to be yet, but we have made significant strides in our hiring. Our recruitment event we did 2 weekends ago on the Saturday was a great success. Earlier this week, Anthony and one of our part-time staff went to Rubidoux High School. We had a number of applicants that came out of that during a career fair they had at lunch. So we're getting there. We're excited as to where we're at. And then our recruitment is open for the new specialist at Skyview Event Center. And Zena told me today the applications close next week. And we had a number of applicants, but there was at least 6 highly qualified individuals with recreation experience from other agencies in the area. So we're really excited for the possibilities that's bringing. Other than that, the budget, we're in full budget mode right now. We have a budget meeting next week. In 2 weeks, we'll have a budget workshop for the board, kind of show you where we're at. And I don't know what it is, but development's in the air right now still. We've got the developer for Shops in Hoopa Valley right here at Pedley and Mission are gonna be paying for about half of their buildings. As you can tell, they're working on the canal right now, so will be some stuff coming with that soon. We have a number of CFD annexations coming forward, which is exciting, so we're gonna be busy this year.
I think you reached Pyrite and Mission.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say Pedley? Yes, Pyrite, thank you. So we've been busy with that as well, so. Other than that, I'm available should you have any questions.
Has the hiring bonus been a good draw for some of these people, or has it not really been?
I think so, to a point, you know, maybe not the lifeguards. But some of the other staff, there was something that they really liked, and I think maybe helped get them into the hiring fair. But I will say a number of other agencies are jumping on board and doing similar things at this point, so it's not hurting, for sure.
I was just wondering if it was having the impact that, you know.
Some of our current staff was excited for the opportunities of referring some people and maybe getting something, I know for sure, so hopefully that helps too.
Was the senior health fair advertised, or was it anywhere? Because I wanted to go, but I couldn't remember when it was. And
Yeah, it was on, obviously it was geared towards the seniors. In our newsletter there, it was on our social media. To get the word out about it, yeah.
all right.
And then also there's 3 senior living facilities, they advertise there as well. Perfect.
What's the next?
Madam President, so we're at board comments.
Comments.
All right, so we'll start with you, Edgar.
Looking forward to the spring fling. It's upcoming Saturday, right?
This Saturday, correct, yeah.
I'm looking forward to attending that as well. Again, thank you all for all the work that you do. And we have a lot of events coming up, so looking forward to that. And, yeah, really great what's happening in at the regional sports park, and looking forward to what's happening to the updates for our upcoming facilities as well. And that's it from me.
Thank you.
Just really thankful for the thorough knowledge again. Looking forward to market night Tuesday and spring fling obviously this Saturday, and next Saturday, Meet the Machines, if I'm not mistaken.
So
So,
we have a big event.
23rd.
yeah. So, yeah, looking forward to that, and looks like we're picking up some steam. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
Ross, please.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the upcoming events that were just mentioned as well. I'm really looking forward to Meet the Machine one. I think that's gonna be awesome. I really don't have a lot of comments tonight.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have any comments tonight. Thank you.
Well, I'm looking forward to this Saturday. We did do the drive-by last Easter, but my grandchildren are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it and being part of it. So thank you again.
Yeah, I really think they're gonna love it, you know.
Bringing my granddaughter too.
It's gonna be a family event for sure. Do we have any future committee meetings scheduled?
We do have a budget personnel meeting on this coming Tuesday, the 19th. That's already been scheduled. I do need to schedule a rec facilities meeting. I'm waiting for some information for staff for over the next week or 2 here. And then also, I'm still waiting to get it in our hands, but supposedly for park planning, the updated maps for updated drawings of the linear park at Paradise Knolls were supposed to have been done earlier this week, but until I get them, see them, I don't want to schedule a meeting.
This is on recreation facilities.
Rec facilities is Mr. Godinez and Mr. Castellan, correct?
Okay, and double check, is that right?
Yeah.
Along with the events, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, rec facilities and events. It's primary events. We want to talk about some questions with July 3rd and the Fiesta in the Park. We've got some really great things we're working on, so.
And then the bylaws ad hoc.
We're looking, Mr. Owen, I forgot, are you available next Thursday for the bylaws ad hoc meeting about 4 o'clock?
Let me double check. Next Thursday, yes, I am.
Perfect. I will send you out an email reminder tomorrow.
That's the 21st.
Yes,
What time?
4 p.m.
Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
All righty, I think we have ended our meeting and thank you for everybody's participation. It is 8 o'clock, I believe.
Yes, it is.
We're done.
Thank you much. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.